communities that we could try to build a relationship with to diversify, the visitation in the national park and within employment in the park. So a lot of exposure. But we did struggle with that a lot. And so I think that's why I wanted to recommend this topic because, I went into the relationship building one way thinking it was going to be really easy because I'm also a person of color. And I was like, well, I got this, I'll be fine. But then we actually really struggled. And there was a bit of conflict. So I think it's important to understand the communities that you're going into. And since the organization I was with is predominantly white and just doesn't have the best history, I would say, within communities of color, meaning it doesn't have a big presence. That was a struggle we had to get over. And so instead of building like a relationship and starting events and things and partnering together, it actually took us a bit of time to attend their events, the community leader events, so they can get to know each other because they really needed to build trust with us because I think there was a bit of harm done to the communities with the lack of representation. So yeah. Does anyone else have I have some other things, but does anyone else have anything they would like to bring to the topic? You can just speak up when you feel like you want to. Okay, I'm just gonna keep going then. So I actually found this really cool resource online, and I can put the link in the meeting chat. But it was this really cool website that talked about facilitating a partnership with organizations in communities of color. And they gave a lot of helpful tips, like obviously listening to the needs of the partners that you're trying to bring on. So like identifying past harms that may have been done or, the history of that community and seeing how your organization fits into that. Identifying what each partner could bring to the relationship is really important. And then if you're willing as an organization, if you're willing to share your resources and capacities, which I think is really important because it also leads to another point of not asking people to do things for free. So we're getting a little bit more into diversity with this point, but I think it could relate to any partnership. You shouldn't expect or keep asking people to do things for free because when you're trying to build equity in a partnership, it's important to recognize that cultural exchange that you're being taught or that the skills that they're giving you, about how to work within their community, is valuable. So when you want to bring on someone who has a lot of knowledge of that, you should compensate for that. And so one of the tips they gave is the organization that they're representing, when you ask them to be on your committee to provide knowledge, you should compensate the organization that they're with, because essentially that person is on your committee, which is taking away time that they could be spending fundraising for their own organization, if that makes sense to everyone. And I just thought that was a really great point for them to bring up because it was something that we had to deal with when we were trying to bring on partner organizations, asking them to volunteer their time and not recognizing that their time is very valuable and it could be spent elsewhere. So yeah, I did a lot of growing and learning in my first term.
I have a question about that, actually.
Yeah, sure.
If you don't mind me interrupting a little bit.
Oh, this is like a total informal conversation, so I hope everyone joins in.
Okay, cool. Well, so for everyone else on this call, Noelle and I used to work at the same service site, so we know each other.
Yeah.
And I'm still there, but unfortunately Noelle had to leave. But so I found what you just said so important. Like, I think it's so important that we compensate people for their time. And as things have really shifted and changed with COVID-19 and how, our organization is experiencing such a massive hit financially ourselves. And so we're trying to come up with ways. We've offered a lot of free virtual programming right now, but we're trying to come up with ways for the summer how we can do maybe small group things or virtual things that people would pay for, because we just need something to generate revenue right now because we have nothing coming in. And it's been hard for me because I've been wanting to reach out to a lot of our partners and work with them closely, but right now we don't have much money to offer them. And so I feel like I'm at a little bit of a loss because I don't want to simply not ask to work with them. I don't want to ignore the community. I want to work closely with them, but it's hard because our organization is kind of in the hole financially.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. Which is, part of the reason why I think it was time for me to change places, because I recognize that those organizations do need some sort of compensation. But I think what I would do in this situation is talk to those organizations, and see what you could offer, like explain the situation. Because I mean, a lot of us are nonprofits, and a lot of us are trying to do work in the community. So I think they will recognize that and recognize the loss that the Conservancy is having right now as far as finances. So maybe there can be future compensation, or maybe they can just straight up just tell you what they would like from the relationship. I think that's the other point of like just listening and asking questions, and asking what you could do for them, and just offering yourself up. Because I mean, the Conservancy is still it's still I would say the bigger name. Like, the Conservancy is still the privileged organization in this situation, just solely based on name and all those other things. So I think that's important to like recognize.
Definitely. So I guess maybe my next steps would be just reaching out to these partners and just figuring out what they need from us, rather than coming to them with my ideas for like programs or whatever. Just put that on the back burner and be like, what do you guys need from us?
Yeah, this is like the perfect time to start facilitating conversations like that. Putting yourself as a service, so that once we are back up and running full capacity, the relationship and that trust is already built, especially in like hard times like this.
Yeah, I was gonna give you guys my 2 cents on that. So yeah, we're going through a really hard time now, and you might not have anything to offer at this moment, but it doesn't mean that you might not in the future when this is all over. So continuing those conversations during this time is how you get to keep those folks interested in your organization. And even though you might not have anything to give them right now, you can assure them that, once this is all over and you're back up and running again, you'll be able to do all the things that you were hoping to do before. And they understand, because most of these folks, like Noelle said, they're all nonprofits, so they understand the situation that's going on right now, because everybody's on the same boat, right? Like, we're all kind of not able to do much because we're lacking funding. There's not that many people that we can help. There's not that much work that we can do because we can't go out there. But that just means that we need to keep those relationships together, because we will have in the future all of those resources and all of that work coming to us soon.
Right. No, that's really good. Does anyone else have any examples of how they have built partnerships within their organizations right now?
Yeah, I definitely can touch on this. So me and my supervisor were working on putting together a summer camp program with the YMCA in Austin. They were gonna come out to the park like 2 to 3 times a week during their summer camp. But now, like, that obviously isn't going to happen. So to try and keep that partnership alive, we've just been trying to give them other resources that they can reach out to, like environmental groups and other nonprofits. And we also are trying to like start planning now for next summer's camp, so we can really make sure we get every detail planned.
That's really cool.
And another thing that you can do too is you can tell your stories. So for example, now we are telling you guys the stories to our partners, because we are trying to keep our funders, we're trying to keep the folks that support Vistas or our other internships throughout the year. We're trying to keep them to continue to fund us. And even though we might not have people out in the field now to show, we still have the work that you did before. So tell those stories. You can send out a special newsletter saying, hey, this is what we accomplished in the past, and while we're shut down for now, we're not doing so great right now, these are the things that we were able to do because of your support with us, and these are the things that we are hoping that we will still be able to continue doing in the future. And that might get, you know, their attention into, hey, that's really good. I want to continue to help these folks out, because I think that when they come back, they're going to be able to continue to do these great things. Don't be afraid to tell the stories. The stories are what make these things.
No, that's a good point. I went to the Public Lands Alliance conference at the beginning of March before the world changed. And I sat in a session about stories. And I think it was a development session, talking to your donors and things. And that was a big part of what the session leader was trying to get across, like how he uses storytelling to connect with donors, and so they feel like this sense of connection to the location, and that they want to keep giving because they're reminded of that every time they give money to the organization.
Yeah, for sure. They always like hearing stories.
Yeah, it was a really cool and like helpful session to be in for me as a person learning about nonprofits and at the beginning of my nonprofit career.
Yeah, this is something that you guys will get, and unfortunately we weren't able to have it for this virtual training right now, is during the grant session, the grant writing session, we talk a little bit into detail about fundraising and how to keep fundraisers and all of that, but that's going to be brought to you sometime, hopefully this summer, and you will get great ideas of how to keep those people connected and how to keep them as partners and continue giving to your organization.
Yeah. I'm definitely looking forward to learning more with Vista.
Awesome.
So does anyone have any examples of what they have been able to bring to their like what your organizations have been able to bring to their partnerships? Like, have you participated in any of those examples? Like attending their community events and things. So, like, what were you able to offer to the community?
Well, I guess I can speak first on this. So I work at the education center, and so I work mainly with schools, and those are the partners that I focus on. And I was hoping kind of before everything went down with COVID that I could also help work with university partners and work to expand like an employment pipeline with you, Noelle, but then everything sort of fell apart. And right now we're just trying to make sure that there are education resources for teachers and students and making sure that we can be a resource for them. And so we've reached out to a lot of the schools we already serve and who would have had field trips with us or resident programs with us that were canceled, and asked what can we provide you? But one thing that's been kind of hard about that question is it's very broad, and teachers are being worked to the brim with trying to navigate online learning. And so we've sort of decided now we sort of need to find a series of options of, you know, do you want virtual videos? Do you want a guest speaker for your Zoom class? Like, we need to give them a series of options to choose from, because simply asking teachers, how can we help, normally just ends up getting lost in their emails, I think. And they want something already sort of specific and laid out. And one thing that seemed like the best idea and had the most interest was being a guest speaker in a Zoom call, because students don't have the attention span to sit there and listen to their teachers for that long on a computer, and having someone else come in would be really beneficial. But it's been really hard to plan, just in terms of figuring out time, teachers' timing, and also figuring out who is going to teach these classes. Are we going to have a park ranger do it? Are we going to have our instructors do it? What are we going to talk about? Are we going to talk about something specific to a lesson they're learning in school, or are we going to come up with our own lesson plan for it? And there's just so many little details that it's ended up being kind of easier to do pre-planned videos without like a live digital engagement aspect to it, just for our coordination. Even though the teachers seem to be more interested in the live stuff, but it's just been really difficult to figure out all the details. And now I'm just going on this big rant, and I'm not sure it had anything to do with your question anymore. But
No, you're fine. I like the sharing of ideas. I was actually like coming up with like helpful tips for you to add to it. But I like it. I mean, it does have to do with community partnership building. And, you know, I think a lot of us I mean, since we're working with communities, that educational aspect is really important for all of us. So this, you know, I think this is helpful, especially for what I will be going into. But I think your pre-planned videos are a pretty interesting idea. I mean, and teachers could always play those videos while they're, you know, in one of their Zoom sessions. And it probably might be better because, you know, so many people on a call, you can get a lot of technical difficulties.
Yeah. I'm interested to hear from you, Megan, because you're talking about camps and all of our camps just got canceled for the summer. So, and we're just like, we're not even sure what we're going to do yet. So I'm interested to hear what you guys have in the works.
Yeah, well, so lucky for me, I'm in Texas, which is, open. So they still have camps. They just can't have field trips out of the camps. So that's why now our aspect is canceled. But apparently they're still planning on having the camp, which is mind blowing to me because they're having like 200 kids a week. But that's how it stands now. But so we're just like trying to figure out like if we can set up virtual lessons for them from the park, and like also try and set them up with other people in the community that could give them different takes on, because they want like environmental and wilderness things, and they wanted wilderness tips, which we're not really like thought out to give at a park because we're not really surviving outside. So we're trying to like find them courses to fulfill like all their needs, and just try and broaden all like multiple partnerships within us. But for like outside of the camps, our demographic is very old at the park. Like most of the ages that visit our park are like 45 to 80, because it is the Lyndon B. Johnson Park. So it's mostly people who lived through his presidency that come and visit the park. So a lot of things are face-to-face because most of them don't do a lot of social media and stuff like that. So we're having a really hard time keeping engaged, I feel like, with our visitors rather than organizations.
Does anyone else have anything they would like to add to the conversation? Is that Josh?
Hey, I can, try and add a little bit. I mean, so I started my service middle of March in New York City. And so I have been working entirely remotely the whole time since the first day of my service. So that has definitely, like, in terms of like community engagement and just kind of getting to know my area and what we've been working on, has been a little difficult. So I'm still definitely like figuring out a lot of things. But I think like speaking to the kind of the educational aspect, our organization too has been working on just developing stuff that we can send to teachers in classrooms. And since, like, as you said, like, teachers have so much going on and it's hard for them, it's we found it's just better to kind of develop whatever materials that we feel can be useful in some way, even if it's just a small, a short video, like a interactive, like the photo or something from a park, and just kind of providing as much accessible information to like teachers that then they can kind of send out as they see fit or as they have time to do so, I guess. So
Nice. I give props to you, Josh, for for entering during the time that you did, and managing it all. How have you been able to like network right now with you not having that face to face or events and things? Like, are you kind of just like meeting people through other, like maybe through your supervisor or something? He's just like, they're just like sending you contact information to talk to.
yeah, so I've done a few like Zoom calls and stuff, like mostly with our staff, but then kind of just been in on calls that kind of like my supervisor was in, just to meet people, and then lots of corresponding and meeting people through email. And then one thing that we've been that I've been working on more, just to kind of less so much like networking like now with people, but just kind of preparing for networking in the future, is just I'm working on making a large database of community groups, youth groups, just anybody who we could potentially partner with in the future. And not like, I'm just more compiling and not reaching out to people yet, but just more kind of getting all that information together so that once, maybe things slow down a little bit, or we have time, then in the future we have those resources to reach out to more people. So just kind of building up the back capacity and preparing for doing stuff in the future. So
That's a really good idea. I actually did something similar before I left the Conservancy, because it was a part of like my project goals to reach out to different organizations. And so I compiled a list as well, and reached out to them, and just kind of wanted to start that conversation. So at least when the next person comes on, they can continue those conversations.
Right.
I see that Elena, did I say that right, has joined us. Do you have anything?
Yeah. I popped in a bit late, but I'm sorry. What are you discussing as like a whole?
So it's fine. Everyone's allowed to just pop in and out. We're talking about building trusting relationships with community members, and so we've all kind of just like shared how our organizations are doing that, or how examples of how we've conducted that.
One fun thing that just popped to mind of a way of connecting right now, like via social media, has been a limerick contest. We asked people like kind of with like an example of what a limerick is, and like, it's like the 5 stanzas, then the 3 rhymes, 2 rhymes in the middle. And so we got about 60 entries of like people writing little limericks about their experience hiking the Ice Age Trail. And we're going to judge them and then post one every hour for like, we're going to pick 12 and post one every hour like next Tuesday, as a way to make people feel like they're connecting, and also like, it's like a fun little creative project to do when you're in quarantine. So
yeah, that's a really great idea. I like
limericks are really fun.
That was so creative.
Yeah, it was something that, because I actually have my start date on Monday, but my site supervisor had reached out to me if I wanted to be a judge for it. And so today I just got this big document of all these limericks, and it's just, I think it's, and like poetry also, it's, it's people connecting because they're reflecting on their experience, and it makes people feel good. So I like that whole way of connecting.
Nice. It's inclusive. I like it. It definitely reaches out to like young people that are all scrolling right now on Instagram and Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, do you guys have a TikTok yet?
Oh, I don't think so. Actually, I don't have a TikTok, so I actually need to figure out how that works.
I think that would be a cool idea for organizations to have a TikTok page. Maybe. I don't know. It has to be
I've been trying to convince my organization to get a TikTok for the last like month, because we have cows at our park, and I'm like, everyone would just love that. Who doesn't want to see a daily video of a cow?
You have to make some cow memes.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. I'm trying not to go off topic, but that is really difficult because I do that a lot. So does anyone else want to help me out here during this session?
So when you had just like had in the topic that it was about networking, are you also like talking about like the difficulty or like how you can professionally network even when you're not actually meeting with people, or was it just networking as in community outreach?
In any aspect of networking that you feel could bring some helpful ideas to this for everyone to have I don't know if that was correct English.
Yeah, so far we've mostly just talked about community outreach in our organization rather than like professional networking, but I feel like we can talk about that. We should.
I mean, yeah, I mean, I think I've been doing a little bit of that. Sometimes I don't realize how much I'm networking when I'm just like talking and leaving comments on everyone's post. But I actually do have some examples of that. Recently, I've been reaching out to Instagram pages, like people of color that are like in the adventure type sports space, because that's a sector of my life that I'm trying to like get better at and sort of enter, because there's not a lot of people of color doing like whitewater rafting or climbing or mountain biking and all that stuff. So I've been reaching out to people, just like DMing them, and actually they were telling me about all these events that they have had before Corona, and that, you know, once all of this like quiet down and, you know, we're good on a vaccine and stuff, that those events will start back up. But it's been really nice to like connect with other people that look like me, that are in the space that I want to be in. And sort of, I've just been like having these great conversations with them. So, but I'm also like not afraid to just like comment and like DM people when I'm like super interested in what they're doing. So I think that's, I mean, one thing people could be doing.
So that was just really exciting to hear, because I was just in the session on the diversity and inclusion, and what I was talking about with them was the Instagram page Unlikely Hikers, and knowing that, yeah, you know.
I love that page.
Right, and I know that recently, like the one of the founders of the Unlikely Hikers page was, I'm not sure if she still is, was going to do the whole long trail in Vermont and kind of document and kind of bring, you know, awareness to like all people use this trail, you know, it's not just like upper white middle class, you know what I mean? And so I just thought that was like something that I would love to implement on the Ice Age Trail, as like some highlight on like the unlikely hikers that utilize the trail, and not just the people that you see, you know, always posting about it on the Facebook page, you know?
Yeah, no, that's a great opportunity. Like, have you guys like, are they trying to, are there okay, I'm sorry, the person who's doing the long trail, are they like
I think it's Jenny Bruce
involved with Instagram a lot? Like, because I think it would be interesting to use your organization's Instagram page to like track her. So not all the time, but like kind of like a story, like keeping people involved. Like, oh, it's been 10 days and they got this far on the trail, and just updating the community, I guess, kind of like a live story that's happening. Because I don't know.
That's a good idea. No, yeah, it's totally awesome.
It was just something I was interested in, and I was actually doing that with one of the, I guess like unlikely. I guess she would be an unlikely hiker. I was like interested in her. I think she was doing the Appalachian Trail, and so I started following her and like reaching out to her. And whenever she would get time to like check her phones or whatever, she would like respond. And it was like a really cool like conversation and stuff.
I really hope to have like, because right now I would be more of a tentative person to reach out over Instagram, and like hearing that you do that and they actually respond and you can build even like some type of professional connection, like that gives me a lot of hope for reaching out over social media.
Yeah, I think because they're trying to increase diversity in the space, that they're a little more open to the conversations, because they realize that is a method of communication, and that if they want to gain more people or get more people interested in this cause, that they have to be pretty effective communicators. But you know, I do wish you luck in all of that. I think for the most part, people are pretty responsive.
Mm-hmm.
So does anyone else have any examples of professional networking experiences, either current or past? Or Does anyone have any questions they would like to ask the group?
Hey everybody. I don't have a question. I just wanted to say hi. My name's Greta. I'm a Vista. I was at the fall training, and so I just hopped on here to kind of say hi and see what's going on. But I think the conversation you guys just had is so interesting because I've been working at the central the central staff office of Conservation Legacy, and I work for the director of diversity and recruitment. And one of the things that we did was put together like a whole big list of social media influencers. And I'm wondering if I can share that with you, Rose, because it might kind of answer your question about like, are there other chapters or other like local diversity hiking groups? And there are like so many that we found. So I thought that was such a cool idea that Noelle, you said you just kind of have been reaching out and using that as a way to network, because I don't think we like had thought about that as a networking thing. But that makes so much sense. So anyway,
that's such a good idea to like pay attention to influencers. I feel like because I'm such an outdoorsy person, I'm just like, who needs to know how to work a computer? And then this job has completely like changed who I am, because obviously you need marketing and all the tools. So it's taught me a lot so far. But using influencers, what a great idea. It's so simple, but I never even crossed my mind.
Yeah.
Oh, I meant to type with that link that I just sent out. But that is a link for partnering with community for organizations and communities of color. I needed to know. But yeah, I would be interested to see that list of groups for that you mentioned, Greta, because I've slowly been building and adding to it, and I also just came across. I'm not sure if you guys are aware of this person, Ruby. Like it's a character, but it's on Instagram, and they just did like a short film with REI. If anyone's been paying attention to that lately, REI they do like I guess they do like short films, like a little film festival, and so there were a lot of great films that they just released right now. If any of you want to take a look at them, I thought they're pretty interesting. I've only seen one of them so far, but I'm definitely adding it to my list of things to watch.
That sounds awesome. Definitely share that.
Okay. We're just gonna share things in the chat. Okay.
You guys are welcome to share anything in the chat, and then once the session is over, I can pull all of this information and throw it on Box so that everyone has access to everything that's been shared in these sessions.
I have a great source as well for social media / marketing. I just actually got my certificate from Hootsuite in social marketing, and they have like a great course you can take. You don't even need to get their certificate. They do cost money, but I found a coupon code to get it for free. So, and then once you get certified, I found the certificate for free too, and it's like $200, $300, and I got it for free. And then it's a great thing you can also put on your resume. So.
Sorry, I'm not talking. I'm just trying to like type this information that I wanted to share with you all. Okay, so it's not REI Films, it's Patagonia Films. And they show a bunch of them on the Instagram. But the film in particular that I was talking about is called Becoming Ruby, and it's the story of a Black mountain biker and like just how it is for her to be in that space. And I think it's an interesting perspective. And she just talks about what it's like. That doesn't have much to do with networking, but it's something cool I just wanted to bring up.
Like thinking of that as well, I was thinking like along that similar lines of seeing like different people like of different cultures in like experiencing and enjoying outdoor recreation. Like that reminds me of the book The Adventure Gap, and like the podcast and other things that go with that, which is called the Joy Trip Project. And it just goes through, you know, an all like a multicultural team ascending Mount McKinley in Alaska, I think it was. And yeah, just really having out there more stories of people of different cultures in the outdoors.
So I don't have anything else to add to the conversation. I think these have all been like really great ideas and tips. And Trish, you mentioned that we can access the information in the meeting chat later, or?
So all of the information that you guys are posting on this chat, so like those links, I'm going to pull, and Greta sent a file. I'm going to pull that as well. And I am going to create a space on Box for you guys to access all of this information. It's going to be the same place where you're able to access the recordings of all the other sessions that we had and the other materials that you've had throughout this week. I'm going to pull it all on there. The Box link is on all of these emails that I've been sending out to you guys throughout the week. You can access all of this information on Box, but I will pull all of this at the end of the day today, and I'll put it on there.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Does anyone else have anything else they would like to add, or would you all like to close this out?
I don't. Yeah, I think you guys had a really good conversation today. Noel, thank you so much for facilitating this session. Greta mentioned Outdoor Magazine. Magazine did something similar with podcasts on diversity in the outdoors. That's really cool. Yeah, if nobody has anything else, you're free to join the other sessions if you'd like. I'm not sure if they're still going on. They should, if they still have people available. So thanks, Noelle, again for facilitating this conversation today. Thanks, Greta, for joining us as well.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Noelle.
Thanks, Noelle.
Thanks, Noelle.
Thank you.
It was so good
Bye.
talking to everyone.
Thanks, everybody. We'll see you all tomorrow for storytelling.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.